Hi, everyone. Welcome to our panel of Internet of Things. I want to welcome Marisol for joining us and thanking you, Marisol. I want to thank you also, Julian, for joining us today. Hi, Marisol. Can you tell us a little bit about your background?
Hi, my name is Marisol Capetillo, and I'm an electronic engineer. So I come from the oil and gas industry. And around 7 years ago, I started with a couple of partners, a company, and we're specialized in providing services of Internet of Things for the industry, right? So we have developed a gateway with a lot of capabilities of acquiring data from the physical world and send that data to a platform we have also developed, which is in the cloud, in order to help the clients to get a better decision making on their companies and their manufacturing plants.
Wow, thank you. It's a great job you're doing for society, helping optimizing and improving decisions in brands, different brands. And I also want to introduce Julian Bertonile from Volvo. Julian, can you explain us also a little bit about your background? What do you do in Volvo?
Yeah, sure. So currently, I'm an IoT expert at Volvo, and I have a background of electronics and informatics engineer. And so I'm working in the IoT domain from the beginning. So even before the IoT, I was working in the same area. And yeah, really glad to be here.
Great. So, Julian, as you mentioned, you've been working in IoT before it started. So, can you please tell us to the audience when this started and what it is?
Yeah, sure. So 15 years ago, when an industrial company came and told me, "Oh, can I have this data on my cloud server?" We were doing what we call M2M, so machine to machine. So that's basically exactly the same concept as the IoT, the Internet of Things. But 15 years ago, we had to invent the protocol, we have to invent the gateway, we have to find some ways to send the data to a cloud server without any standards. And little by little, we can see like this massive interest around putting data from the real world, so sensors and all that stuff, on the internet. And so, like something like 12 years ago, a buzzword that's coming to start, and it was IoT, the Internet of Things. So, Internet of Things, it's first a concept, but it's pretty old. It was an old concept, but it's some standards about the technology, and it's also a market with a lot of companies that are doing that, some experts, some services around. So that's what we call the IoT.
Oh, great, Julian. So it's the concept and also a market. Okay. Now that you mentioned it has evolved through time, right? Marisol, can you tell us a little bit of what are the challenges especially in burst technologies, but also in the world that we're facing today with Internet of Things?
Yeah, I mean, from our point of view as service providers, all the challenges that I believe Julian already mentioned them. There is a huge diversity of meters, of protocols, of machines, right? And our purpose is to give our clients the capability to hear those machines, to know how they feel, and from there to be able to even predict how to maintain them healthy, right? I mean, say something. So our main challenges are first the huge diversity of the machines or the devices that exist in the real world, and to be able to get that into comprehensible data, right? And on the other side, a pretty big challenge is that when these transformational changes in the world happen, right, we need to go along with the humans, right, with the processes, with the alignment of a whole company and a community that either can be or can have the benefits or can have more problems from it, right? So another big challenge is to be able to work together with a goal to get these benefits with all that it includes, which is not only the technology, right?
Well, thank you, Marisol. I really think what you're mentioning is very valuable, because we in the society we always fear what's new, what's going on. In the industrial revolution, people were scared of losing their jobs, and of course now our biggest fear is that we always think, okay, we're gonna lose our jobs like these robots, and putting everything in the data, what it's gonna have with our, also another fear, what it's gonna have with our information, privacy, configuration. And also, as you mentioned, like, you need to walk along with the ethics, right? I think technology, it's in our hands, it's in hands of society, and it really depends on us how we channel it, and if it's a thing we will gonna celebrate in the future, or we're gonna be ashamed of, right? So I want to ask Julian, what do you think it's gonna expecting us in the future with the Internet of Things?
Yeah, first of all, I would like to add something about the challenge. I fully agree with Marisol about the diversity of the machine. So that's a big challenge. But moreover, when you deploy an IoT solution, another big challenge is the organization, because I mean, 90% of the time you need some people from the shop floor, so the OT guy, to collaborate with the IT guys. And usually we are really working in silo, especially with the big industrial companies. And it's always a big challenge to really work together, because it's a requirement for deploying IoT solution. So that's one big thing. And
yeah.
Why is it that big? It's because it's difficult for the moment. It's each IoT deployment is an innovation. It's not something standard, and that's exactly how I see the future. In the future, the IoT will be just standard bricks. So a Volvo factory can say, "Hey, now I want this sensor connected to a LoRa network," and they click on the catalog, and we deploy that, just fully automatic. And it will be like that in the future. And I'm not saying in 50 years, probably in 5 years or 7, something like that. I mean, not that far. But for the moment, each deployment, it's like an innovation project. We have to invent something, talk together, collaborate. So that's always a challenge.
Wow. Yeah, I think what you mentioned, especially working together, it's a key point in this project, in this future. And about the challenges, I want to continue with this, talking about these challenges. I was thinking, because 2 days ago we have the International Women's Day, so I want to ask Marisol, you that have this startup in the men industry, where usually we imagine this new, all these industries, we categorize them with men. So how was your trajectory, and how is to be a woman in this world?
To be honest, the oil and gas is more manhood area. But no, I mean, I've been okay. It is really, there have not been many women. There are certainly certainly more challenges. A few things that sometimes when you have been too much in this industry, you do not notice. So a big challenge for me is to be able to realize what are the challenges. I work all the time on real time in order to try to analyze and correct everything that happens around me, right from a comment to an opportunity, and to and to be all the time aware of it, right, and to try to ease it away. For other women that are coming, I mean, I've been to different programs like universities and etc. And I remember when I went to college, I mean, we were like 4 women among 100, right? And I have seen right now a much more parity on college, like 50-50, 40-50 on oil, on even on electronics. So I'm pretty happy about that. So we have to continue pulling to the last mile, and to be able to take also leadership positions. And the benefit of being diverse, it's big, right? The ideas flow in a totally different way. So it's more of a commitment to be aware and to be working on it all the time. But we are more every day. We are contributing.
Wow, I'm so impressed by this. I really admire this. And what you're saying, you were 4 out of 100, now it's 50-50. That changes the panorama completely. And I think, yes, like, for example, the audience looking that we have a panel and you're joining us, that's being a role model for women and men. And I also wanted to ask Julian about this topic. Like, how is it in Volvo? Is very common, isn't it?
Well, it's something, diversity is something really important at Volvo, and there's something like 25% of women, so it's not a lot. The truck industry is really a man thing, but I mean, we are trying to recruit women, but believe me, it's difficult. I mean, I don't have a lot of candidates when I'm looking for informatics engineer. So even if we're making some efforts, we should also make some efforts before, before the engineer school and before the college, probably, for women to be interested in this kind of job, because I think it's so interesting. I mean, there's no reason for not having women in this kind of job.
Yeah, I agree with that also.
For sure. And yeah, as you said, like, it's also Internet of Things, it's in our daily life, right? And everything we do. So can you give the audience, first Julian, then Marisol, some examples of what do we use in our daily life that it's Internet of Things?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things in our daily life that we can put as IoT. You can think of I don't know, any smartwatch or anything like that. But it's not really my expertise, because I'm more on the industrial Internet of Things domain. So it's kind of different, because with a consumer, you can see a lot of products that are coming really fast and sometimes disappear because it was just useless. With the industry, it's not the same. I mean, it's really slow. It's a slow pace, but it's so powerful. I mean, the deployment are huge, and it's possible decades. It's not just something to play for 1 year or two. So there's definitely a lot of things around IoT. But if I have to take some example, I would like to take some industrial example. For example, at Volvo, at one point, some operators come and say, "I don't know how to locate the trucks on the yards because we have huge factory yards with several hundreds of trucks. So we have built an IoT solution to geolocate the truck in real time, and now they are able to find the trucks immediately in the factory yard, and it helps them a lot. They don't have to waste time to find trucks. So that's one example, and there's a lot of other example where. You gather data from your factory, so you can monitor all your factory in real time. That helps you a lot to understand what happened. So for the maintenance, for the production, and to be able to calculate KPIs, so to really drive your production depending on your needs. So that's basically my work, is to deploy this kind of IoT solutions.
Wow. Thank you, Julian. Marisol, what do you think?
Yeah, well, Julian and I have pretty much the same job, but he does it for only one client, and we have different clients. That's pretty much it. But if I have to give some examples, as you say, from a consumer point of view, that we might, or maybe more people might be able to relate. I mean, as he said, there are smartwatches. We have some sensors that goes in shoes and running shoes, and you'll be able to track what's happening on your phone, right? There are a few rings that we have heard about that you can have your your heartbeat and sleep hours and other things that you can track on your phone, right? So the transfer to our world, which is in the industry, it's pretty much that yes, this is in a consumer world, things move much faster, as Julian said. And when we develop solutions, and the Internet of Things for the industry require more robust and more solutions that last long and then can escalate pretty big and still be able to provide value, right? But we have these examples. I mean, on our side, we have this also this company that we want to increase efficiency by 1%, right? And we might be able to find, stop in a production line, but we want also to see, micro stops in our line or in places that we usually don't see, because we want to go beyond in efficiency, right? So in that order, we help and develop projects to be able to measure and to see those places that we do not usually see, and with a kind of a microscope, right? So we have been able to achieve in these kind of projects, like with an expectation of we are improving 1% efficiency in 4 years to getting a 7% improvement on efficiency in 1 year, right? Because you find out that things you don't see, right? You might expect something, and then the reality can give you something much better.
Wow. Yes, life drives you to different paths you will never expect sometimes. I'm very impressed by Julian and Marisol and for sharing with us all their expertise in the industries. I want to close with asking you guys, what would you recommend the businesses and like the medium-sized businesses, organizations, and brands that they want to follow this path to advance in Internet of Things, what would you advise them? Just like one tip, or like, yeah, one advice, one tip in Spanish. Julian?
If I had to say one advice, I would say this famous sentence: "Think big, start small," because that's a mistake that most of of teams are doing when they are trying to deploy an IoT solution. They are trying to do like, "Oh, let's do a POC and then we'll see," and usually it stays a POC. Because you have to, from the beginning, think of an industrial solution so you can achieve the goal. Otherwise, it will never happen. So that's why I'm saying think big, start small, and yeah, that's my advice.
Wow, thank you, Julian. Actually, here in my table, I have dream big.
Dream big. That's a good advice also.
For advice. And Maricel, what would you say to the audience? What did you say to those friends?
I would say, there are lots of problems to solve and a lot to improve, and we have to turn to technology these days, and turn to technology to help to solve these problems. Get either your own team of experts or hire one, and please walk along with them. Made a commitment, and you'll find good results. And as we have, as each of us today have a smartphone, every factory and every place in the world in the future years will have Internet of Things in their world, just as we have cell phones today. So that's the analogy for me, right? And for everybody.
Great. So just say, audience and brands, dream big, start small, and commit to it. That's the advice from Julian and Marisol. So I really want to thank you for your time, for joining us today, for making this very dynamic, and thank you guys that we have here in JITCOM, very masters in the area. So from JITCOM and myself, I want to thank you again for being part of this.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.